Hello, perfume lovers. It is Jessica here from Sensoriam, coming to you from Bondi here in Sydney with a new episode of Founder.I.Am. And today we have the wonderful opportunity to speak to Amanda Thompson, who is the founder and creative director at SiUNO, one of the latest brands to join the Sensoriam family. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, Jessie. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome.
So tell us, Amanda, where in the world are you coming from?
I am currently in Corsica, which is a beautiful French island. And it's actually really uncanny because I've been visiting some distilleries here as well because they're quite known for their heliochrysum, which is, really beautiful. It's such a beautiful island. The soil's sort of rough and rugged, but it's got lots of minerals at the same time from the ocean. So, it's really beautiful to be here.
Amazing. Did you ever think that you'd be like traveling the world looking at distilleries?
Never, ever in a million years. No, absolutely not. If you asked me that 5 years ago, I definitely would not have guessed that.
And for so many, that sounds like the dream life. So let's go back a little bit further though, in terms of when you sort of left high school, what was the dream for you at that stage?
When I left high school, I did a degree in media, and my dream was to be a journalist, a fashion journalist. I was pretty obsessed. And I actually ended up working in publishing, more on the marketing kind of sales side though. And events and sponsorships and things like that. So my first job was for MasterChef magazine, like my first job after I'd done my degree, I guess. And then I worked for Harper's Bazaar in Australia and Elle in the UK for a number of years. And then I moved into more of a, in-house fashion space. So I was running events for Bottega Veneta in Milan. And I did an MBA in luxury business management with LVMH. So I sort of got more, I guess, on the sort of product side of things, I guess you'd say.
And what do you think you learned from that world of media and magazines and glossy and luxury? What were some of your key learnings?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question because I feel when I got into a different space over COVID and things like that, I sort of almost thought I'm going to abandon that world in a lot of ways. But I think I have come full circle and it's very integrated into my brand. And I think what I understood about, I guess, that time is really understanding the customer and understanding that world and understanding what luxury really means. And what customers kind of want and expect as well, and just always sometimes to my own detriment, just having really sort of high standards about what you're offering. But at the same time, I think from when I was doing all of that 10 years ago and, now, I think the world is a different place, particularly after COVID, and people are looking more towards, even more so, the integrity and what's actually happening behind the scenes, and looking to brands that are more responsible and all that sort of stuff. So I think for me, I've really found a balance between offering a product that's very beautiful and, is very luxurious, but at the same time, it's about the human consciousness and looking after the world as well and doing our part, I guess. So,
yeah. I think also these days luxury is about that coming back to the craftsmanship as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, which is important within natural perfumery because it is like a step back in terms of the older methods and things, but with the new spin on it in terms of the consciousness and caring for planet and things. So you started in media then and in that luxury world and glossy mags and things. So what was the turning point that had you turn to perfume and perfumery and then natural in particular?
That's a really good question. So it was kind of over COVID. I had a bit of a moment. I was doing a lot of meditation. I did a psychology degree. I was feeling a bit lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do actually. And I went to one of my really good friends, Julie Stavania. She invited me to this women's retreat in Fiji and said, look, I've got a spare ticket. Do you want to come? At the time she was running a Style Runner. And I said, yeah, sure. And I was like, I'm not doing anything at the moment. I'm not even working, but I'll come. And I started talking to women again. I starting to feel re-inspired. And I thought, I don't know, it's almost like, yes, I'd sort of had enough of the luxury space in some ways, but it was also part of me in other ways. And I really wanted to create, I was using candles a lot. So I actually wanted to use, I was interested in making my own candles because I realized that all the luxury candles on the market, and I didn't even know this at the time, were really toxic in their fragrance. What I thought was being marketed to me as like real rose and things like that, where it was actually completely synthetic. But then all the candles I was finding were like, not really that luxury profile. So anyway, I guess my idea was, how do I keep the luxury and the beautiful scent profile and the delicacy of and the artistry, but still make it natural? There must be a way. And so that's kind of where my rabbit hole started, to be honest with you. And then I started learning all about natural perfume. I studied natural perfume. And then I realized that because I never wore perfume, hadn't worn perfume since I was in my early 20s because it gave me really bad headaches. So I had no interest in it because of that. And then I thought, oh, wow, there could be something here. And now obviously there's been an explosion of it, which is great. So I think maybe it was me, but maybe I was tapping into something more global as well. And people started to, because they were stopping a lot and buying a lot of products online, like perfume, and was doing really well over COVID. People were just buying a lot of beauty products because they were at home, sort of, I don't know. Maybe people were just sort of researching more and looking a little bit deeper.
Yes.
But I get asked that a lot, why the explosion? I'm not sure if you do too. Why the explosion of perfume brands and natural perfume brands? And I think it was really related to COVID in a lot of ways. So.
Wonderful. So you start like at a retreat in Fiji, questioning what's in a candle, and here you are a few years later in France and then eventually Italy to be at the Pitti Fragrance conference, of course. And so where did you study perfumery then? Like where did you go to learn? Because I know we get asked it a lot, like where should I go and learn? Where's the places?
That's a really great question. So in the natural perfume world, there's two different kind of schools. So there's like you can be trained. There's a lot of schools that they work with isolates. And so Mandy Aftel, I think she's pretty big in that space. And then there's like a broken away space where we choose not to work with isolates. And I guess the approach to learning to make perfume is more alchemy based. It's more about working with whole botanicals. So it's a slightly different approach. There's a group called the Perfume Foundation that is she's based in France, and she sort of heads that movement. But I actually studied with Roxana Villa. So Roxana's been making natural perfume for 30 years, and she has an online course. But I also decided during COVID that I would go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I spent 3 months in her perfumery, I guess, learning everything there is to learn as well, on top of doing the course online as well. And then Andre, who I work with as well, he makes a lot of our perfume formulations and is a partner. He's also an educator and a teacher of natural perfume as well. So I'm also constantly learning alongside him as well. And I think the big thing about natural perfume as well is really understanding and learning about the raw materials, and not just from a scent profile, but also from, there's so much, you can get a juniper berry from one distiller and then get it from another, and it completely changes the profile of your perfume. So that's been an interesting thing to learn as well, and to be able to tap into and be able to identify.
Whoa. You've very much immersed yourself in the world of perfumery. And you talked about isolates. So for others maybe who come across this and haven't heard of it before, within the world of natural perfumery, what is an isolate?
Yeah, so an isolate is something that we would classify as something that's naturally derived. So it's essentially when you take something natural, so we say like a natural rose, and through chemical extraction, they, within a lab most of the time, they will extract one molecule from the rose, and that molecule is known to have carry the scent profile of rose. So you get this one molecule extraction, and it's quite intense. So therefore it's almost, you get that similar kind of profile to a synthetic in that you get the intensity of it, but it's still created from something naturally, but through a chemical process. And then what we use is whole botanicals, whole essential oils. So they're just essentially an essential oil that's been steam distilled at a distillery. So the beauty of what we do, I guess, is we only work with distilleries, and we can really trace back everything we do, because it's really hard to trace isolates as well, because you're not always 100% sure where they come from. But I guess, it's for us, because we work with alchemy and so medicinally, almost in aromatherapy kind of way, that we want the full benefits of the plant to be able to show, because as soon as you break them up, you lose the medicinal benefit, I guess. Whilst you might not lose the scent profile, and it's still much better than using synthetics. It's just, I guess, we go that one step further to keep the medicinal intact, so to speak.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Because there's so many words within natural perfumery, of course, that people can come across, and it's good to understand. Yeah. And so from that sort of medicinal point of view and alchemy, what does alchemy mean for you?
Alchemy means for me, it's the intention behind how we create our perfume. So we, you use the term consciously crafted, and by that it means that we are very intentional, firstly, about the materials that we source. We make sure all our distilleries are following ethical practices. Where we can, we source wild harvested ingredients or organic. And so that's kind of the first start of alchemy. And the second one is the process in the way we make things. So we're a small batch, so we handcraft everything. So everything is made by hand, and has a lot of intention behind it as well, as opposed to heavy machinery and things like that. We make everything in-house as well. So we don't assign any production, elsewhere, basically.
And in terms of that sourcing and knowing where it comes from, how have you done that? Yeah. Have you gone and visited every single distillery, or do you reach out and find, and through your perfumers you work with, and they sort of know? How have you navigated that world?
That's a $1 million question. It's probably taken.
It is.
It took me 3 years, to be honest, because it's a really hard network to crack into. And you can't just research it on the internet. People don't want to share their contacts with you because it's taking so long for them to arrive there. So it's been a bit of a rabbit hole, I guess, like anything. So Roxana helped me a little bit, and Andres helped me a bit, but it's also just about, you meet a distiller and they might introduce you or tell you about another distiller, and then sort of one thing leads to the next. And then I haven't visited all the distilleries, but I have visited quite a number of them. And for me, it's just about understanding their practices, how they work, what their ethos is. So, for example, we have a really beautiful distillery in Madagascar, and it's a smaller company. I would say that's another thing. We don't buy from really big companies. They're kind of smaller, and they're a family company, and we buy our vetiver from them, and they operate really ethically. They provide schooling, they provide housing for all their workers and above minimum wage. And they're really caring, and they do offer trips actually to some of their buyers. So I'm hoping to get onto one of those soon.
Yeah, for sure.
And then also the second part of it, which is really is trying everything and comparing it, because something might be essential oil grade, but it might not be perfumery grade.
Yes.
Because you might know this, Jessie, like for perfume, you need a really refined scent. Sometimes essential oils can be distilled in a way that they're great for aromatherapy, but they might not be quite clear enough for use in perfumery, although sometimes you can work with that as well. Just depends on what perfume you're creating. You can really smell the soil and the earth in it sometimes, if that makes sense. Not just, whereas with I guess if something's more perfume grade, it would be just that really high profile of the eucalyptus. But it's an artistry as well, so sometimes it's nice to have a bit of grittiness and kind of play on that as well.
For sure. So then, SiUNO, you look at some candles, you've gone down a rabbit hole, started to learn about perfumery. Where was the birth then of SiUNO and the name, or what does it mean? How does that all come together?
Yeah, so I guess for me, when I started to think about the brand and what I wanted it to represent, for me it was really about we start with an intention, and then from the intention we create. We find the story around it. So the overall intention for our perfumes are about raising your consciousness and your connection to yourself and the world and nature. So, for Aboriginal Australians, country is family, and they have that real connection. So for me, because we work with whole plants and they haven't been sort of interrupted beyond just being distilled through some water and steam, it means we can stay really close to the natural world in that regard. So that's, and then I've got an Italian background, so SiUNO means yes, one in Italian. So I guess there's a lot of connection between Italy and Australia in the brand and the sense as well. So for me, I just wanted a name that represented, I guess, connection and unity.
Yeah. I love that. The intertwining of your Australian heritage and background and things, but also the Italian side of it coming in at the same time. It's such a beautiful story that comes through it. And you mentioned about raising consciousness. So for you, what is consciousness and what role does scent play in that?
So for me, consciousness means just coming back to our heart centers and understanding that we're all here for a purpose, but we're all here together as well. So what I do still affects you, and we're all actually connected. So I think the higher we go in our consciousness, the more we understand our connection to each other and to the planet as well. So that's what it means for me in really sort of simple terms.
And then smell. What role does smell play, or perfumes play in helping to raise that consciousness?
So smell is quite amazing because, like music, it goes very quickly to the brain because it goes through the olfactive nerve. So it's immediate. It's an immediate response. There's not a lot of processing that happens with smell and music. So smell is something that connects people back to memory, but I also think it's, in aromatherapy, they use it a lot because it connects people to themselves as well. And so we have this whole interplay in aromatherapy of certain scents and the properties that they might bring. For example, lavender might be really calming, or eucalyptus is quite rejuvenating. Whereas a citrus might sort of help you to become more bright and alert and joyful. So for me, connecting with essential oils is a way to connect with yourself in different aspects as well.
Yeah. Very important in our busy lives, right? Everything is so busy and fast, and we sometimes forget the world around us and forget about the connecting and forget about connecting with ourselves. And so smell can bring us right back into that present moment, or literally portal us back to a past moment and potentially a future one as well, I believe.
I like it.
Yeah.
And
I have some, oh yeah, please go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think, like going back to what you're saying about us being so busy, I think the ritual of just spraying on some perfume every morning, it takes a few seconds, and it's something you can do every day. So even all my essential oils, I mean, I might go to them once a month and try them and things like that because life gets busy, but perfume is something you can always go and spray on yourself and have that moment, and then go out into the world. And it's often something that we do before we go out for the day or before we go out to an event, or which is really beautiful, right? So
it is. There's ritual in it, there's medicine in it, there's many, many layers for sure. And one of the things I love about natural perfumery, it's never just about a good smell. There are so many more layers to a natural perfume. There's so much more function, feel, all of it. It's just so multi-layered. So I have some of your gorgeous boxes here with your perfumes. First of all, I love the color palette.
Oh, thank you.
It's very similar to my own home and color palette in terms of all of the yeah, that's right, and those sort of very natural Australian ones, right? If you were to come and see in my lounge room and some of the artwork and things, it's very, very much this. So it's a beautiful one. So let's take us through one of them and understand what your intention is with it, and then the types of the profile of it. Did you want to do Calyptos? And the names, the things, they're all so lovely. Yeah.
So Calyptos is our, I guess, newest perfume that we created. And the way that we create scent is that we start firstly with an intention. So there's no story, there's no connection to memory. There's an intention. So for this, it was about connecting ourselves to a calmer, more kind of clear place. And from that intention, we go, okay, we find reference and we find story and we find connection between different, times in history and different worlds and different perspectives. So I guess I found myself quite drawn to mythology and I guess the European world, but also to Australia as well. So this perfume was actually Andre's idea, so I have to give this one to him. And we decided to create this perfume in homage to the Australian eucalyptus tree. Because it's a tree that's very sacred for Indigenous Australians and always has been. And I think we forget, even in perfume history, we talk a lot about history starting in Europe and the history of perfume starting in Egypt and things like that, but we kind of forget how Indigenous cultures all over the world embrace scent and how important it was for them as well. Yes. So that's one thing I feel is quite missing in the history of perfume. So we created this perfume in homage to the eucalyptus tree. And the name Calyptos is the Greek name for eucalyptus, but it also means the hidden one. So it's seen, it's something you can't see, but you can feel, which I think is perfume and a lot of things that are most important. We can't maybe tangibly see them, but we trust that they're there. And this is the scent, and it's very fresh. Little bit fresh as well. Yes. The eucalyptus that we used is from Kangaroo Island. It's only grown on that island, and I'm from South Australia, so it was funny. I sort of searched everywhere for eucalyptus and then ended up finding this variety. And it's just a little bit sweeter, which is kind of nice. And then it has really beautiful fresh notes of anise as well. which is a really strong top note. That was a green anise, so it's a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more bitter compared to the standard anise that we get from a little distillery in Greece. I'll try on that one as well. It's got lots of notes in it, actually. It's probably the most complex scent that we have. It's got about 20 to 25, I think, notes in it. So we're very refreshing, very summery.
Very refreshing, very but still with that almost that gritty woodiness, which I really like, and almost a bit resinous in a way.
Yeah, right. It's got lots of resins in it as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. Really, such a pretty one. And tell me also a little bit about your bottles and lids, because you've got the logo on the lid and everything. I love the attention to detail. Yeah.
Thank you. So the bottles, the glass is made in Italy, from an Italian supplier, and the lids are also made from a bio resin, so that can be recycled. And they're made from a little factory in Italy as well. Small family business. And we've got the infinity symbol on the lid, which is our connection to unity. And it's actually the Roman symbol for eternal love as well, which is nice.
And so in terms of that packaging side of things, was that another rabbit hole to find things that fit with the ethos as well as look beautiful and everything like that?
Absolutely, it 100% was, because it's really external packaging is quite easy now, but perfume packaging is still pretty challenging. I mean, everyone would still have that. The one thing that's hard, the hardest thing is, the little plastic bit that goes inside perfume. I think everyone's trying to find a solution to that. We still got the spray, but eventually the market will catch up and someone will catch up.
Absolutely. That's the opportunity. I'm sure there's many companies working on it right now, because then they would literally get the whole perfume market in one go. All right, let's take us through one more, Ulysses. And I think this was maybe one of your first ones,
That was my first scent. So we sort of, I created that probably 3 years ago now, actually. And just so Ulysses is inspired by the hero's journey. And it's the Roman name for Odysseus, which is the Greek god who goes on his journey around the Mediterranean for 7 or 8 years and comes back home, and with all the knowledge and wisdom of what he's learned, I guess, a changed man and a changed person. It's also the name of the Australian blue butterfly that's found in northern Queensland. So blue butterfly. So obviously this scent is about supporting you in moments of transformation and growth and change, and that sort of butterfly moment, I guess. It's a beautiful scent. It's been interesting now that I've got all the scents out, in that I find it's one that initially people don't choose. It's like, oh yeah, and then when they let it sit on the skin, often people will choose it because it's just a very wearable, kind of sexy, smoky, Moorish sort of scent. So I find that one really interesting from that perspective.
I love that. And I love the level of detail, not packaging, but also the story and the words. Did you find it interesting when you came upon a word for one of the perfumes and all of a sudden when you look into it, more and more layers, you're like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. Oh my gosh, it's perfect, kind of thing.
Well, that's kind of what happened with this perfume, because I was working with Roxana on it, and I sort of given her the brief. And she chose to include blue cypress in there, which is a Australian essential oil. And then we found out that where we get the blue cypress is the same place where the butterfly is, that same part of Australia. But that was just a complete coincidence. So, you couldn't have written it, I guess. So, yeah, it's definitely like that. Lots and lots of layers.
Lots and lots of layers, which for me, that's what gets me with a perfume, is the story and its intention, and then what I can use it for, as well as the smell. It has to still smell good, and they all smell amazing. That's very important too. Now, you are heading to Italy, to Pitti. So tell us a little bit more about this particular event and where it sits in the fragrance world, and what you're doing there.
So PT Founder.I.Am Series is I guess a trade show where different perfume brands can be newer brands, but there's a lot of established brands there as well, certainly, but still probably in a niche market still.
Right.
You wouldn't get your uber commercial brands there. So you have to apply to showcase. What I like about PT, it's still quite small compared to a lot of the other fragrance shows around the world. Quite small. There's probably still like 150 brands there or something, but it just feels really spacious and like you've got enough time to sort of speak to everyone. And they invite buyers from all over the world, fragrance journalists as well. And it's just an opportunity to present your brand to a global market. And so we launched, I guess, at PT last year. We had really good feedback. We're a bit worried being natural because it's not, I think we'll present to one other natural brand there. So that kind of shows, as much as natural is definitely up and coming, it's still not kind of as the norm as I thought it might have been, or. And so I was a bit nervous as well because Europe is a traditional market and it's the home of scent, and they do they're really strong kind of synthetic scents. But it was really well received, and the Italians actually really loved the brand, and they said, "Oh, it's quite your perfumes are really powerful. They're quite they're quite strong." And so that was nice feedback. And I said, "Yeah, we'd make them." They were surprised at how much they throw and how much you can smell them and things like that. And so it was really lovely feedback.
And so from that experience in terms of overseas, what do you see the place is at the moment for natural perfumery? What is the palette like in Europe even? Because here in Australia, obviously, it is really growing, but we are known for being first adopters, especially within the natural space. We do very much look for that. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, what are you seeing in Europe at the moment?
I think it depends where in Europe you're looking. So I think you've got markets outside of the more traditional markets like France and Italy where they're embracing natural perfume a lot more. I think there's definitely a movement though in the more traditional places. It's smaller than it is in Australia, but it's certainly there. And I think the other aspect to Europe is how do I put this? They might not care if you're natural or not, but they just want you to be good, or they just want you to want to like what you're doing. And their palette is a little bit, they do want like a stronger, I guess, more bold kind of scent, where I think in Australia we could have something that's a little bit more lingering and light and floral and subtle. I think that certainly might not work as well in a European market. And our scents are quite strong and quite bold. But I really like some of I met a beautiful lady who had at the Geelong fragrance store, and she has a botanical fragrance brand, and I love those sort of really subtle brands where you can just only just smell it, but I just really connect to it. So I guess it just depends where you sit on the spectrum of natural perfume and how much. I guess you get this all the time. There's some people who just really want something that's for them, or how much you want it to throw, and finding that balance, I think, is really interesting. My experience has been, if we want to compete more in that niche fragrance market, not just the natural market, we need to be quite bold. That's what I found. That's where it seems to be at.
Interesting. And for you, running a perfume business now and being able to travel around, what do you find are the best parts, and what do you find are the most challenging?
Of owning the business?
Yeah.
Yeah. The best parts for me are certainly, I love all of it, to be honest. I love the creativity that comes with it. I love sourcing the ingredients. I love creating the perfume. I think the most challenging thing for me, if I'm going to be really honest with you now, is figuring out where you fit in the market, because when you want to scale and grow, because obviously we fit really nicely with a beautiful online boutique like yourself, but we might not fit everywhere because we are because we're natural still. But also we might not fit everywhere in that really holistic natural space because we're still more of a luxury boutique fragrance offering. So for me, my personal challenge has been to work out where we fit. And it's been really nice in that I think in Europe we've got a few upcoming stockists, and they're not natural. They're just perfume boutiques who just like our scent. So
beautiful, yeah,
which is really nice, right? And so I think there's more and more customers who walk into those spaces and want to smell, what do you have that's natural? But I think the boutique owners are much more discerning about what they would choose in that space. So it's still like, we'll have one or two naturals. You know?
Yeah. So good. And so what's the future? What's the immediate future for SiUNO?
The immediate future for me is, now that we've got all our EU regulations in place, is to focus on expanding in Europe, because I think for us we're something unique to that market. We certainly want to have a few more stockists in Australia, but we don't want to have too many either. Because we are small batch, and we don't want to be overexposed, or we just want to work really closely with the stores like yourselves that we really believe in, and sort of just foster those partnerships more. And we're also working on 2 new scents as well.
Oh, I always think that perfumers are like never finished in a way, never satisfied. Yeah, there's always I just found this and I want to explore this. And what happens if we try it with this? Yeah, it's like this, you're like a good artist in a way, like never quite finished.
No, we're always a work in progress.
Yeah, that's right. And what's something that's inspiring you at the moment then also, Amanda?
Something that's inspiring me at the moment, and I guess this connects to a lot of things, is I'm exploring a lot more of our native Australian essential oils. So we use a lot. We use sandalwood. We use Buddha wood. We use what else do we use? We use some of the cypress oils that are grown here. But I'm really, after we created the eucalyptus oil, the perfume around the eucalyptus oil, I'm really playing a lot more with more about sort of more rare natives as well.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's where I'm sort of interested in playing a little bit more and understanding. We've got a distiller near Byron Bay, and some of the things he distills, he's the only person in the world that distills them, for example. So I find that really interesting. And then as a contrast as well to that, I'm feeling very connected to creating a scent that's really more sort of oriental and spicy and more desert inspired almost.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Amazing. Well, it is a pleasure to have you as part of the Sensoriam family, and we can't wait for people to get out there and enjoy it and try it and add it to their fragrance wardrobe naturally, of course. So thank you so much, Amanda, for your time. It's been such a pleasure to learn a little bit more about where SiUNO came from and where it is going in the future as well. So thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing what everyone in the world thinks of your beautiful fragrances.
Thanks, Jessie. Yeah, very excited to become part of the family and connect with your audience as well. And, we absolutely love your approach and how you really help the market understand naturals and really nurture all of that knowledge and education around it as well. So, yeah. very happy.
You're welcome.